2018 all over again in East Lansing. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, just seconds after Michigan State lost to Arizona State for a second consecutive season. This time, it's a Michigan State score, 10-7. Last season, Michigan State continued to lose games and not score in double digits, despite having arguably the best defense in the country. Statistically, one of the best defenses in the country, against the run, the best in the country, and by any measurement, based on context, talent, and the productivity on the field, a top 5 to 10 defense in America last year, and they're off to that kind of start this year. They had another outstanding effort on defense, but could not hold Arizona State out of the end zone when it counted, when it mattered. And ASU wins at 10-7 with Jayden Daniels coming of age in his third collegiate game as the true freshman who has been highly touted, could have gone anywhere in the country, chose Herm Edwards and Arizona State, and he wins his first monumental game of his young career, again with Arizona State moving to 3-0. Yeah, 3-0. 3-0, 3-0, 3-0 was the score forever in this game. Not a whole lot going on, but the story of the first half was basically that Matt Coughlin missed 2 field goals for Michigan State. He was perfect the first 2 weeks for Sparty, missed 2 field goals, and hang on, the story plays out. That storyline continues to the end. Michigan State was down 3-0 at the half. Jayden Daniels had a key play, and this wouldn't necessarily be a key game and play in other games, but from his own 2-yard line near the end of what was the third quarter, Jayden Daniels backed up at his own 2-yard line on a 3rd and 10 again, and this would be the storyline that we would see in the narrative that would play out, of especially in the final drive that won the game for Arizona State. Jayden Daniels breaking contain, finding a lane, or sometimes finding half a field and just grass to run to and pick up much-needed yardage for Arizona State. So they averted bad field position there, were able to gain some first downs and get back to safety at 3-0. Finally, Michigan State scored a touchdown. Somebody pointed the end zone to Michigan State and said, see this cowhide you're playing with? You got to get it past that line down there. That's the goal of the game. It was rough for Sparty last year. It was rough, and it appears to be much of the same. I know they scored 51 points against a MAC team last week, but against Tulsa, now against a decent Arizona State team, a top 30 to 40 team in the nation, could not score when they needed to, couldn't score almost, period. But they did with 8:37 left on the clock. Eli Collins, who has taken over as the number 1 back for Michigan State, eclipsing Connor Hayward, who was the number 1 back last year, posted the most rushing yards for Michigan State since Javon Ringer did. Remember him? Javon Ringer in 2005. Eli Collins with 192 last week. Tougher sledding this week against the Sun Devils. 19 carries for 72 yards, but at least some movement in the running game, and he scored the touchdown to give Michigan State the lead at 7-3. Sparty, that's your offensive explosion. That's it. So many ins and outs the final 4 to 5 minutes of the ball game, because after Collins scored, Michigan State had a chance. They had a chance to end the ball game. Kenny Willikis had a strip sack. It was recovered, but there was a hands to the face call against Raekwon Williams in the middle. It was a legitimate call. It was a good call, but it did not necessarily affect the play. Kenny Willikis, coming from the end, had his 20th career sack, a strip sack, and Michigan State would have been in prime position to maybe even score a second touchdown, if you can believe that. Maybe. And take a 14-3 lead, a 2-score lead with just a few minutes left in the game. But as it was, Arizona State kept the ball. They did punt. Michigan State got it back. They were inside their own 5-yard line. They had a couple key plays that would have converted first downs. And against Michigan State, this is another theme, shooting itself in the foot. Pass interference on a tight end, Matt Dodson, on a pick play. That would have been a first down reception for Michigan State there with about 4 minutes left. Then on a 3rd and 14 play, Lewerke threw a beautiful ball on the slant to Darrell Stewart, who made an even better catch, or we thought it was a catch. He caught it initially, but when he went to the ground, he let the ball slip away, and he trapped it on the ground, and it was a good call on the reversal on replay, and Michigan State had to punt. So 2 first downs wiped out for Michigan State, in which they could have iced the game right there. The punt was amazing by Jake Hartbarger for Michigan State. So punting from his own end zone, he pinned Arizona State all the way back to about its own 30. But Jayden Daniels, this was his first time, prime time, national television, on the spot against maybe the best defense in America, and he went to work. Forget looking at the box score and trying to evaluate his performance based on the numbers. But here they are, 140 yards passing on 15 of 26. Only 37 rushing. But again, remember the Michigan State defense, how great it is. Also remember that sack yardage counts against Arizona State. I don't know what the sack totals were in this game, but Jayden Daniels against 2 very inferior FCS opponents, or Kent State and an FCS, and Sacramento State was sacked 6 times. So the offensive line play coming into this game for Arizona State, very much a concern against one of the very best front sevens in college football. But a great punt by Michigan State, so Jayden Daniels would have to lead them all the way down the field. Brandon Ayuk made a tremendous play down the left sideline. He burned the Michigan State corner, number 19, for 40 yards to the Michigan State 25, and that set up the drama at the end. Great stat here, because prior to that 40-yard play by Ayuk, Arizona State had been limited to 46 yards in 43 plays. They ran 43 plays and gained 46 yards against Michigan State. And they were stopped and stopped and stopped again. It was a 4th and 13 then from the Michigan State 26. And then Daniels took off. He saw the split in the containment, took off. And actually, it was a play that was designed in which Arizona State took their wide receivers and their slot receivers, and they went deep, cleared out the Michigan State defense and coverage, and Daniels had plenty of room to take off down the middle and run for a first down for 13 yards on a 4th and 13. So Michigan State could have ended the game again right there. All right, next play, Frank Darby could have scored the game-winning touchdown for Arizona State. It was a great defensive play by Xavier Henderson. So it was half drop, half great pass breakup, but the ball was delivered on time like a bullet from the right hash to the right sideline in the end zone, probably a 25-yard pass. Excellent throw by Daniels there, but it was dropped by Darby. So we got a 3rd and 5, and Daniels had to take off again. And again, he was looking, I believe, to run first, even though he was back in the pocket. The entire right side of the field was wide open to him. He almost scored the touchdown, got knocked out of bounds at the 2-yard line. That set up Eno Benjamin, who was basically a non-factor in this game. And that's not surprising considering the Sun Devil offensive line issues and Michigan State's propensity to stop the run. Only 78 yards rushing against this defense per game last year. And they were giving up negative yardage coming into this game. Eno Benjamin, though, twisting, turning with 2 Spartans wrapped around him, scored the game-winning touchdown, barely got the ball to the goal line, and Michigan State led, or Arizona State got the lead there at 10-7, and Benjamin again, one of the best backs in the Pac-12, only 38 yards rushing on 11 carries. Okay, it sets up Sparty with 50 seconds left, losing 10-7. Brian Lewerke goes to work. Not an extremely talented quarterback, not one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, a Michigan State quarterback if there ever was one. Played with a bad shoulder last year, had a bad season, 8 touchdowns, 11 picks, a really good sophomore season the year before. He looks to be pretty healthy and playing his type of game. So they couldn't put points on the board, but he did move the ball, 291 yards passing on 24 of 38. First down scramble for a first down, 12 yards. So Lewerke gets him going on this drive. And again, they had no timeouts, 50 seconds left, down 10-7. They get a pass interference on the next play, which really sets them up. And then Over the middle on the crossing route, Darrell Stewart, who caught 9 balls for a $121 for Michigan State, catches another key pass. And that gets them all the way down to the 24-yard line. Okay, this is where Mark D'Antonio made a mistake. And if the field goal would have been made, it still would have been a mistake. So Stewart gets it to the 11-yard line. Yes, they have no timeouts, understood, but you've got a veteran quarterback. You've got veteran players on the outside. You need to understand, and they need to understand the game situation. And I know we had a similar situation like this with North Carolina on Friday night, in which Michael Carter didn't know what to do with the ball with the waning seconds, and he didn't know to get out of bounds, and he stayed in bounds, and they blew the game. I understand young players and in the moment don't necessarily make the right decisions, but you got a field goal kicker who missed 2 kicks, and you're setting him up with a 41-yarder to win the game. It's going to be a rushed 41-yarder because you're scrambling to the line. If anything, go up and clock it so you can reset. But Michigan State scrambles up to the line. They're rushed. They could have gotten in 2 plays. If not, throw the out, get 5 more yards, get him 5 yards closer. But it's a 41-yard kick from the 24. It's 11 seconds left. And again, you got to run a play, and you've got to get more yardage. But they rushed Coughlin onto the field, and to his credit, he nailed it. The clock was running down, the play clock, to 0. They really rushed it. He nailed the field goal. Michigan State was sending this game to overtime at 10-10. Hold the phone. Flag on the field. Too many men on the field. So Mark D'Antonio's next error may not necessarily have been his direct responsibility, but it is ultimately his responsibility. Game management and then player and personnel management. Too many men on the field, 12 men. Negates the field goal. Puts Coughlin back to a 46-yard kick. He badly misses it, hooks it, and Arizona State survives 10-7. Final score from East Lansing. So Mark D'Antonio, ironically, in a game in which he could have won his 110th game at Michigan State, which would have given him the all-time wins leadership at Michigan State. And this guy, I've said it many times if you watch my channel, has done as good a job in the last 10 to 12 years as anyone in the nation. I will argue that to the T, that based on where he is and the challenges at Michigan State, has coached as well and led a program as well as anybody in the country over the last 10 or 12 years, especially that 7 to 8 year window before about 3 years ago. But he made some errors in judgment here. You need to run a play with 11 seconds left when your field goal kicker needs it to be closer, and maybe not your direct responsibility to get the right personnel on the field, but you got to make sure that that guy knows what he's doing. You had 12 on the field, and that lost the game. Arizona State beats Michigan State for a second consecutive year as a heavy underdog, this time 15-point underdog. Hopefully, you're locked in on my weekly college football predictions because I said Arizona State's in good shape with the plus 15 in this game. And we got that one right. All right, MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Please chime in on Michigan State, Arizona State. What does Sparty need to do to fix this offense? Can they fix the offense? And what are the Sun Devils' chances in the Pac-12 South Division? Everybody's talking Utah, of course, Pac-12 favorite in the South Division, and USC, who got a big win, of course, last week against Stanford, stumbled against BYU, but got the big Pac-12 win. What are the Sun Devils' chances in the Pac-12 South? Let's talk it up right here at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. We will see you with more instant analysis very soon.